And this I think will help. This is a diagram that I've adapted from something I came across, which talks about performance and well-being. So we've got the well-being line vertically. Okay, so this is what I call the inner game. Okay, so sometimes people come to me because they want more happiness, more inner peace, more contentment, more presence, more aliveness, more inner connection. This is like the inner game that people play. Okay, and some people come to me because they're playing the performance line. I want more money. I want a bigger house. I want a hot tub. That's just me. And it's funny because I got really into the well-being thing. I got really into the inner game. I got heavily into meditation, and I found that I got a lot of peace and a lot of contentment from that. And some of you don't know this, but there was a point in April 2016 where I seriously considered becoming a monk and going to live in a retreat centre. Like I was 50-50, honestly. And this is the game that monks are playing. They're on the inner game line. You know, they literally give up their attachment to external things. You know, they will give away all of their money, all of their possessions, because they're playing the inner game. And I seriously considered it. But it's fun to have money. Like, it's fun to have nice cars and nice things. Like, we stayed here last night. We had such a good time. It was amazing. That takes money. And I didn't want to be someone that didn't have external things. I wanted both. And so I stopped looking at well-being and I started looking at performance. And I realized, actually, these two go hand in hand. Like there's something that adds them up. So you can have both. You can have both an inner state of peace, of joy, of well-being, and you can have some good stuff as well, right? Because I used to think that money was bad, and I used to be triggered if someone had a lot of money. And I realized I was judging wealth as something that was wrong or bad. And then I realized that actually I do like to go on holiday, and I do want a nice car, and I do want a camper van, and I do want a hot tub. Because I've got a client that sells hot tubs, and it's really annoying because every single week we're talking about hot tub sales, and I'm just like, oh, you know I haven't got one, right? Like, he's trying to sell to us, isn't he? He got us in his showroom the other day to try and sell us a hot tub. Ridiculous. I think we're going to buy it though. Because it's nice to have stuff, right? Like, so we're going to play both games. So, what I've kind of discovered is that performance and well-being are linked to certain traits. Clarity. One of the things that helps with well-being and inner state is having clarity. One of the things that helps with performance is having clarity. One of the things that really helps with performing is being present. One of the biggest trait that is linked to inner happiness is being present. Responsibility. So when people look outside of themselves as the reason to them not performing well in life, they lack any sense of power or responsibility. By the way, that's not your fault if that is someone like you. They did this horrible experiment. Has anyone heard of the term positive psychology? There was this psychologist, evil man. Because what he did was he got these dogs and he would put them, there was this big cage, and half of the cage had an area that would electrocute you, and half of the cage wouldn't. And what he found was that he'd put these dogs into this cage and the electric would be on. And half of it was non-electrocuted and half of it was. And what the dogs would do is they would be electrocuted, but then they would move to the part of the cage that was safe, right? But then what he did was he would put these dogs in a cage that all of it was electrocuted. And for the first few seconds they would jump around like mad and try and get away from the electric shocks. But they couldn't. And do you know what they did is they gave up. Because they had no power, no autonomy. They gave up and they would soil themselves and lie down just being electrocuted. And then what he did was he got those same dogs that had learned that the whole cage was electrocuted, had learnt that they've got no power, and they would put them in a cage where half of it was electrocuted and half of it wasn't, but they would put them on to the electrocuted bit. And do you know what the dogs did? This new cage, the other half was safe. Do you know what they did? They just lied down. They called this learned hopelessness. It was a cruel way to discover something that we already know. That some of us had childhoods, had pasts, where we learnt that we had no power, no control, no responsibility. And some of us stopped trying to exert our power over the outside world. And I'm just inviting you to take it back, because you're not in that cage anymore, even though sometimes it might look like it and feel like it. Evil man. Freedom to act. This is one of the biggest things I find. People will come to me saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. And what they want is, they don't want the how, they want permission to be able to do it. Most people are scared of failure, and so they don't try. If you had the freedom to act, the freedom to do what you want to do without being judged for it, you just go out and do it. Flexible thinking. The ability to look at things in many different ways. Confidence. Creativity. And trust. This is what you need to function at your best for well-being and performance. And what I've discovered, my take on this, is the secret to peak performance and well-being is to master these inner states and qualities that we all have access to.